Hey, everybody, welcome back to your Inside Track to Success. As always, I am your host, Stuart Krantz. We got another amazing guest here for you this week. But before I go ahead and introduce her, please, as always, go ahead and like, subscribe. If you haven't already on Spotify, for those of you that are listening over there, please leave a 5-star review. It just helps this show become more relevant in the search function for anybody looking to level up their lives, grow, and gain this information and knowledge for themselves. So, today's guest for y'all is somebody that is an entrepreneur, coach, and I think just an overall awesome person. She's somebody that had been orbiting in my network for a very long time, and I've finally gotten the opportunity to meet her directly. And after connecting with her, I knew we had to have her on the show. So I wanted to introduce Jennah Lear to the show. Thank you for being here, Jennah.
Yeah, thanks for having me. I'm grateful. I'm super grateful and excited too.
Well, we're grateful to have you. And I would love for you to maybe kick this off. You are somebody who is a coach, is an entrepreneur. How did this become the track for your personal career? And basically, why is it what you do with your time?
Yeah. How and why? Sometimes also I've been in my business about 8 years now.
Mhm.
And I have moments like these where I'm asked, like, how did you end up on this path? It's kind of like, wait, let me take a step back and think about it. Circa 2015 is really kind of when it all began. And I come from corporate. I'm a graphic designer by trade, and I really was having some difficulty finding my path in my career. I would watch all of my colleagues who I graduated with go off and find these jobs and be like, I'm so happy, I'm so excited. I love the work I do. And for me, that just wasn't my path. And I was like, what am I doing wrong? Like what's just like not clicking for me here? So, I worked advertising, marketing departments, always say it was like the back corner of the cube farm, if you will. And yeah, I just got to this point where I realized I'm a very hard worker. I learned fast. But that wasn't acknowledged or compensated for me. I'll speak for me only, right? And so my path was, I wasn't in the meetings around how the work I was doing was impacting the end customer or client. And it just seemed like I always ended up at these companies who were locally owned and run, but it also made made it so that there was like a cap, right? There was like
Mhm.
not a lot of experience to expand or learn or up level or take things to the next level. So to make a very long story short, I just had a moment one day where I was like, this is just not it. This is
Mhm.
not what I hustled my way through college for. This is not like what I worked so hard for. There's got to be more than this. And it wasn't like kind of hating on the people that were at the companies, doing their jobs and in it for 20 and 30 years. I think that's a beautiful thing, but for me, it was very much like I was called for more, and I
Yeah.
wanted to really connect into the impact that I knew I was capable of making. I wanted to hear how the end customer was impacted. I wanted to see what changes were happening as a result of my work. And I think overall just more purpose. Again, long story short, I found this boot camp program, if you will. It was a 90-day program for women who wanted to learn how to become an entrepreneur. I'd
Mm.
always thought about going back to school for business, but hadn't paid off the first set of loans. So I'm not sure how the second set would go. And so I took the program and I took a leap. And it was in that program that really just everything changed for me. And that was my first big investment in myself outside of like a college education, if you will. So it was, I don't even know how I like managed that, to be honest, looking back. Like now it's like, whoa, I can't believe I did that. But like I said, everything changed afterwards, because really what I learned was who I am and what I want and my purpose, and also how can I have fun with all of my talents and gifts and put that towards really making a difference for someone else. So that's kind of how it started.
Yeah, well, thank you for sharing that. And, this is kind of a theme I'm finding with a lot of the folks that I've had on this show so far is they go to college, go to some type of trade school. Point being, go get some type of education to go do the thing. And then
Mhm.
somewhere along the journey, myself included, we realize, hey, the thing is not actually the thing.
Mhm.
I would love
Mhm.
your take on kind of that pivot moment that you had and what it took for you to step into like the courage that it took to basically switch careers and cut out on your own to
Mm.
start entrepreneurially.
Yeah, yeah. You know, what's coming up for me when you ask this question is really that moment when I had put everything into this path because I was told if I took this path, aka went to college, graduated, got the corporate job, and then just did my due diligence to show up and work my corporate job, that I would have the things, right? Like I'd have enough money to be able to afford things, and I would have purpose in my work, and I would, be on this path that set me up for a great life, and also be happy. And I didn't have hardly any of those things, right?
Mhm.
I wasn't someone who went from like a six-figure corporate job to like, opening up my own business. I went from a corporate job that barely paid me anything, and I went into opening up my own business, which takes a lot of money. So for me, I wanted to lay that context because for me, it was very much like, this is what I worked so hard for. Like this is not it. And I had to listen to that almost to the point where you're like, it's like that moment when everything shifts internally, but no one like feels it or sees it, almost like an earthquake, right? And so I listened to that calling. I listened to like this, oh, maybe I should join this program that kind of really kind of dropped into my lap, to be honest. I know now that like law of manifestation, right? Like
Yeah.
we attract who we are and we call forward, that's why our thoughts are so powerful and so important to work on your mindset. But then I really didn't know that. And so that moment where I found this program and I took this program and all these things kind of broke down so that I could build it back up, so to speak. For me, it was very much like there is no plan B, is my point. Right.
Yeah.
It was like there's not a lot to fall back on. There's not just like, oh, I'll just give up and live in my parents' basement. It's cool. Like I didn't have that option. It was very much like you got to make it work and you got to figure it out. And I also wanted to make it work, figure it out, and be happy about how I
Yeah.
spent my time in my days. And there was a lot of pushback, family, friends, like it just kind of seemed like, am I crazy right now? Like, but I was listening to an intuition, and so once I started following that intuition, things started falling in place for me, and the clients came, and like the unexpected, business friends and connections and opportunities came. But it really started from that piece of like, this is not it, and I refuse to spend my days living in a place of this is not it. Does that make sense?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
I feel like I'm hearing you say it was committing to your own success. No shit. Like
Yeah.
you're going to make this happen. You're planting your flag on it, so to speak.
Yeah.
I would love to hear, your take on this. Tony Robbins, who I'm sure most of the listeners at least know who he is, talks a lot about burning the boats behind you, basically
Mm.
creating a scenario where success is the only option because you have nothing else to fall back on. Do you think that that is the approach for most people, or is it good to have a plan B or a plan C?
You know what? I think entrepreneurship is not for the faint of heart. I
Mhm.
think if you want more and you dream of more and you think of more, then when we create plan B, plan C, plan D, or AKA these fallback plans, like if it doesn't work, I'll be okay. I'll just go do this type of scenario. Then really we're saying, I'm not either fully committed or I don't believe I can fully, create plan A. So let me create a backup plan.
Yeah.
Let me create these safety nets that I'll, if it doesn't work, it's cool. I'll just go do this instead. But I think there's this piece of, to Tony Robbins' point of, what if there is no safety net, right? What if there is no plan B, plan C, plan D? Like you literally are not allowed to create that, or you can't create that. How would you show up for plan A? I think that's
Yeah.
the difference is your commitment, your belief, and your trust in how you show up for plan A, because you believe plan A is what's meant for you, and you will figure it out and you will find a way, because there's always a way. There's always a way. But I think the gap is commitment.
Yeah, I've heard that commitment and discipline are the distance between where we are now and what we want to create with our lives.
Yeah.
And, you spoke earlier about the law of attraction.
Mhm.
Is the commitment, the discipline, and you just said it so eloquently, and I just forgot the third word, but are those things what create the results, or is there anything that's missing from that puzzle in your experience?
Yeah, something that I've really been leaning into the last couple years as things have shifted and I've pivoted, and it's a natural way of being for business owners and entrepreneurs, is attachment,
Mhm.
and what that looks like to be attached to the outcome, right? So, for example, if we want to, create six figures in our business, and we create this plan and how to get there, the the real key and the real trick is to not be attached to the path, right? It's to be in action, to show up in your leadership, to, when things, there's a fail, or there's a bump, or there's a crater, like, figure it out, find a way. Doesn't mean you can't get to six figures. You can get to six figures if that's your goal in this example, right? But what attachment says is, if you can be unattached to how we get there, then what will happen is, I believe, in law of manifestation, the universe will provide for you, right? So you're saying, universe, I want six figures. The universe is saying, cool, I'm going to work on it and deliver it to you, but you got to be unattached, because I might, throw some opportunities or some roadblocks in your way that weren't in your plan. So if you can create a plan, take messy action, but be unattached, then you'll get there.
Yeah.
So that's what I've learned.
Yeah, I love that you say that because, there's that adage that we make plans and God laughs,
Yes.
for folks that follow a higher power.
Yeah.
I'd love to hear an example maybe from your own story of building your business, or maybe those of one of your clients where they had the plan, they hit major unforeseen obstacles, but they were still able to create the result by persevering.
Well, I'll say this. I'll say, every year I do lay out a plan. Some years are a little heavier than others in terms of like what I think I'm going to do and strategies and things I'm going to try. And each year, and I'm super grateful for this. So I do like to share this because it speaks into what happens when you are committed, and it also speaks into breaking barriers. I'll just, I'll be bold and say that. So I am a woman of usually one, two, three on my team, and each year we usually hit six figures. And last year we almost hit multiple six figures, all organically as well.
Wow.
So I share this because it doesn't come without a lot of work, but I'm so proud of it because I think it also lays the ground for work for what's possible for others. And so, coming off of last year in 2022 and all the things that we did, I mean, I hosted an in-person conference. I think I had my largest program, the largest number of people in my program to date. And we just did a lot of really cool things. We hosted like a fashion show. I'm not a fashion designer, guys. Like, like, we just got really creative. We had fun with it, and it resulted in a lot of successes. And for me, what happened was, and this is like getting really deep. So in 2023, I did plan a conference. It was hosted in March. It was amazing, but for me, something fell off. And I stayed committed to it, and I stayed connected to the plan. And afterwards, I was like, something's not right here. Like, I don't I it's not burnout. I kind of feel burnout, but it's not burnout, and I'm not depressed, but there's just something that's not working within my business. And to kind of bring it into context for everyone to understand where I'm going with this, my plan immediately got chucked after conference. So my 2023 business plan after I hosted my conference was chucked, because I went from hosting a very successful event in 2022, making around, $60 to $70,000 profit from that, and then coming into 2023 and not having a very profitable conference. So that tells me, if we took a formula that was working and we replicated it and it didn't work, then something's off. And it was me. It was me that was off. And I think this speaks to the very human piece of everyone's journey, right? Like we can only produce and create so much. And I think that we can only take our clients and customers as far as we're willing to go. And I have done a lot of healing along my journey, a lot of mindset work, which is why I say my business is the best, self-development journey I've ever been on. And in that space, in this particular year, 2023, I've realized I couldn't work anymore. I couldn't push myself the same way that I had pushed myself before. And again, had a lot of fun doing all the things we did, created a lot of things, made massive impact, helped a lot of women entrepreneurs. But I realized after going through this big disconnection in 2023 that I'm just going to say it, I had been operating in survival mode most of my life, my adult life. And so what happens is when you hit these high highs and you realize you're operating in survival, at some point what goes up must come down, right? And I had these moments where I had told the universe, I wish to thrive. I wish to live a life where I can thrive and things come with ease. And I've created amazing results in survival mode, but that's not where I want to live. It's not where I want to exist. And so this year, I realized I was so disconnected from the deep pieces of me. And I asked God, the universe, please let me thrive. Please let me have a life that comes with ease, which is why I work so hard. And I was given exactly what I asked for. I couldn't work even though I, wanted to. I kept telling myself, but you're so capable, right? But my body was just like, no, you will not move. You will not move. And what happens when you operate in survival and you operate so high and then you finally stop, your body has this deep need for rest. It has this deep need to re-regulate your system. So to make a long story short, it was almost like a 7 to 8 month sabbatical that I did not plan in my business.
Wow.
It was everything I needed, everything I asked for. So much came out of it that I learned about myself and what I want for future me. But it also took a very big hit financially, mostly on my business. And I'm okay. We're fine. We're out, we're coming out the other side, really ramping things up with this new vision, this new light, this new way of being. But that is, the most prime example for me of something that I did not plan. And it's funny because
Yeah.
I asked for it, but here we are. We don't get to decide how God and universe delivers what we ask.
Yeah, and it's funny, it is what you needed, it is what you were asking for, but it also came in the form that you weren't anticipating or
Yeah.
that you probably would not have chose. Is that fair to say?
Oh, totally fair. Totally fair. Because I'm a doer, right? Like,
Yeah.
so, a lot of my identity is wrapped up in doing, and to have everything in your body, being, energy, spiritually, mentally, say you're not going to do and sit with this so that you can receive.
Mhm.
That was the hardest piece. Yes. So that's fair.
Speaking into that though a little bit more, like knowing that you are a doer, clearly that you are results driven and that
Mhm.
you've built the business, you've supported these female entrepreneurs in creating amazing results in their businesses as well. What did it take from you personally to step into that place of surrender? And I know some people hear the word surrender and they freak out because of the way that word is connotated, but stepping into that trust, surrender, whatever word works for you to allow yourself to actually rest, knowing that you are such a doer.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this question because that's exactly what it was. It was like I hit this moment where I couldn't operate the way that I have always operated. And so it was like I'll just skip to the end and say that it was like a recalibration. And the most easiest context is going from a PC to a Mac. You're like, it's a whole new operating system, right? You want to go from survival to living a life of ease and thrive, like whole new operating system, right? So
Mhm.
for me, what it took to surrender, I fought it. That's why it took so long. I
Sure.
fought it, like it took 7, 8 months because I was like, nope, I can do, nope, I'm capable, nope, what's wrong with me? And when I finally got to a point where nothing was working because I was still trying to do and be in this old way of being, I let go. And I will say what it took is me fighting it a little bit, and then me finally like just running out of energy to let go. And also I'm so grateful for and I acknowledge past Jennah for the decisions that she made, because I have put such powerful circle around me
Yeah.
who saw me when I couldn't see myself, who picked me up when I fell down, who told me I'm not crazy, like this is a process, right? And I was surrounded by the right people at the right time, and the people that I needed were also delivered into my life at that time to support me as I go through this transition. So I think when you go through this great fall is also what I've called it. This great fall, when you finally let go and you're falling, having the right people around me really helped me see myself and know that as the further I deepen the trust in myself, it really doesn't matter what happens at the bottom, falling off the mountain. It doesn't really happen at the bottom because I'll be there to catch me. So that was really a process. Like I said, took a long time. So yes.
I love that. And thank you for sharing just the eloquent way you put it, the great fall. Now that you are coming out the other side, maybe this is the great climb. What are you
Yes.
doing to prepare or support yourself? Maybe is the word. What are you doing to support yourself so that you don't have another great fall, or that if you do, it's much less impactful on your business, your goals, so on and so forth?
What am I doing? Oh, such a number of things. So, okay, so I've deemed this era my Phoenix era. And so I kind of think with these analogies, it's like, I think there's always going to come, rising in your business is always going to come with work. But instead of climbing the mountain, I'm like embracing like this, like, let's just fly up towards the mountain, the top of the mountain, right? Like, if we're
I love
putting
that.
into context. Yeah. So how does it come with ease? Like, how can it be easy? How can it come with ease? That's the question or questions I'm asking myself. So coming out the other side, I've realized, well, one, me first. I'm always keeping an eye on how do I feel? How's my time or my energy being spent right now? Am I taking care of me? And I'm not talking about manicures and pedicures, which I do love, but I'm talking about, is my schedule too full this week? Because what happens when my schedule's too full, it turns into the snowball effect. And then at the end, I end up resenting, and here we go. We're back in the same systems, right? So that's one, making sure I come first so that I can serve at my highest in all the ways. The second thing is I've restructured my business. So I'm in a restructure. And it's interesting when I explain this to people, they're like, well, so are you gonna like shut down your business and start a new business, or do you not feel connected to your work? And I feel more connected to my work, the same work, more than anything. It's just the way that I deliver that work, so that structure works for me and what I want and future vision of Jennah and my company, and it also works for my clients. It gets to be a win-win. So that's really what I'm leaning into in this next phase, is making sure things are structured for me to win, for my clients to win, and to also set the tone that we're rewriting this whole hustle mantra on what it looks like to work hard and reap the benefits and also take care of you.
I love that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Rewriting the hustle mantra is probably the story of my adult life if I'm
Mhm.
just going to own it. Like, I bill myself as a mindset coach. I support people in creating the results, reaching their goals, and I find more often than not that I end up working with people doing something similar, which is looking at how they're being, how they're showing up, and how are they taking care of themselves along the way. And I feel like more often than not, part of self care for people is just acknowledging all the good that you're doing. Like, even
Mhm.
if you don't
Yeah.
hit the exact goal, like, who did you impact along the way? Like, what difference did you make in somebody's life for the effort of you striving for your own greatness? And
Yeah.
I'm curious, just looking back, like, what are maybe the things that you're the most proud of, whether it's coming out of your great fall or, just over your business as a whole?
Oh, that's a hard question because there's so much. Like I look back and to your previous point, like who I became along this journey is the thing I'm most proud of. I'll say that. If I had to pick one, it's who I became. Because I think I said this on stage actually last year, towards the end of the year. I had a moment where I felt that I was coming home to myself. Like I am the woman of my
Wow.
dreams.
I love that.
And it feels so humbling to speak that out loud. And and I don't think I dreamed it exactly this way, but there's so much that I've created as a result of going there, being willing to be vulnerable, being willing to let go, being willing to be cracked open, being willing to be triggered, being willing to be wrong, being willing to fail, and being willing to just take up space and be bold and loud and speak my message and not be sorry about it, right? And really just being willing. So that's probably what I'm most proud of. All the things that I've created. And I think the piece that comes from all the things I've created is that when women entrepreneurs come back to me and say thank you, that's probably also in my top 3, because I know that my work has impacted, and that's what I care about most. Money is great, awards are great,
Mm.
all of these other things, but when someone can say, because you were bold enough to go there, it showed me that I could go there. And as a result, I've created XYZ. And that's why I do my job.
I love that. I'm getting goosebumps just listening to you share all that. You know, the piece of that I wanna go back to is that you became the woman of your dreams,
Mhm.
which I think is just such a beautiful, profound thing to say, especially if it's true, and I can tell that it is for you just hearing you say it. How can the women listening to this episode become the women of their own dreams?
I think a couple things. One is just be the bold, crazy one, right? If
Yeah.
you've got the ideas, you've got the vision, like I believe that our visions are divinely gifted to us. So to be able to act on them is actually living into our purpose. So I think that that is definitely something you can do to become the woman of your dreams. The second thing I'll share is have way more grace for yourself. That is something that I have learned along this journey, woman or man or whatever. I think when you are ambitious, or you have big visions, or you have high aspirations, you're hard on yourself. And so to your previous point, it's like, I set up an event this week. That's amazing. That's huge. How many people are, sitting in their homes or their offices right now just wishing they could create an event, wishing that they had the confidence or motivation to create one, or just press the button on something, right? So that's just a random example, but the point being, like, celebrate the fact that you created an event this week. That's huge, right? That's huge. So more grace for all you're doing and all you are, and more celebration for all you have done and who you be. And I think that that's really how you can step into becoming the woman of your dreams. And I also think that knowing that it's kind of like a moving target. I am the woman of my dreams and I'm not done yet. I'm going to continue to evolve, right? My identity shifts all the time as an entrepreneur. And so learning to have grace for yourself as your identity continues to shift, and the people around you might be like, who are you these days? And you're like, well, I'm the woman of my dreams, right?
Mhm.
Because you're not going to be the same person you are 3, 6, 12 months ago. And that's the point when you're in this space of continuous growth.
Yeah, so true. My wife Jennifer, who's been on the show a couple of times, likes to say that we are always a masterpiece and a work in progress at the same time. And
100%. Yeah.
just can't be more on the nose than that. Just to pivot the conversation a little bit, I know we've spoken about it a bit that you are pivoting the business a bit, but you are still in the business of supporting female entrepreneurs in launching their businesses, up leveling themselves. What are you working on currently that, ladies can get in on to begin working with you directly?
Yeah, yeah. So I'll say that because I don't think I've actually spoken to it. So I'll just say real quick, branding is my wheelhouse. I love the power of creating what happens when you create your brand and really lean into it and speak your brand and your message out into the world, and what you attract to your business as a result. And that's still very much the work that I do. And one of the new things that have come out of this shift and this growth, we'll call it, is I'm just going to go right in and say it. So I'm actually partnering with a business friend who we've seen each other through everything because we've grown our businesses parallel to each other for so long. And we're partnering up, and we're really on this mission to help women entrepreneurs who want to trust the messages and trust the trainings and trust the resources from people who've done it. And there's a lot of messages out in the online world and a lot of really beautiful things that are out there, but sometimes you just don't know if you don't know. And so who do you go to? Who do you trust when it comes to what is the next best step that I take? So we're creating a membership for women entrepreneurs, a one-stop shop, if you will, to building your business and really doing it in community, because we believe in the power of community and what happens when women gather and truly support each other. So I'm super excited for that. And that's called One Bold Move.
Yeah. Yeah, and folks, the lady she is partnering with is my friend Val Cap. She has been on this show as well, back on episode 9, I believe, which is
Yeah.
kind of crazy that we're looking back on episode 9 like it was a long time ago already, but I would not be here without working with Val. And if you want the opportunity to learn from two rock star leaders in the entrepreneurial space, definitely connect with Jennah, connect with Val. I'll be sure to put their contact information in the notes somewhere
Yes.
below this episode so you can link in with them as well. Jennah, where do you hang out most often for people to get in touch with you, connect, say hello, follow up with any
Yeah.
questions they have based on today's episode?
Yeah, yeah. So shout out to Val because she is amazing. I'm so excited to be partnering with her. So I'm gonna say that. So the second thing is I had to think about it. Instagram and Facebook. That's honestly like the best place that you can connect with me. I will say if you just go to my website, bluelouisstudio.com, blue like the color, Louis, Louis studio.com. You can catch both of those social platform links. And yeah, follow, connect. I love actually having the conversation. The point of a social media platform is to be social. So, let's talk. What's up with your business? What are you working on? And how can we do this together and really just lean into creating our biggest and most bold dreams and visions?
100%. And again, y'all, I will be posting that in the notes below so you can connect with Jennah just about any way possible. So if you are feeling like there is something higher, better, more impactful out there for you than what you're currently up to, and it involves an entrepreneurial journey, definitely hit her up. I mean,
Yeah.
it's one thing to think and plan and listen to podcasts and read books. It's another thing to take strong, committed action, which I encourage
Yes.
anybody listening to this to do. So, Jen, I know we only got a few minutes left. What final words would you have for somebody who is on the fence, has the goal, has the dream, maybe just a little bit afraid to jump in the deep end of the pool?
Yeah. And that's normal, right? That's human. It's a
Mhm.
very human feeling. So you're not wrong for that feeling. But what I'll say is if you have vision, if you have something you want to do, I'd rather live in a place of, what do I want to say? There's that saying, okay, I butcher sayings, but there's that saying where you'd rather, take action and then, figure it out versus live in regret. Right?
Yeah.
And that's really what I wanna say, like, I wanna be able to look back 5, 10 years from now and say, "I was bold as hell," versus looking back 5 and 10 years from now thinking, "Well, I wonder what would have happened for me. What if?" We only have one bold, beautiful life, and so how do we really make the most of it? And I think it's really betting on ourselves, and I think it's trying things. That's something that we forget when we become adults, right? Like how fun and exciting it is to just try. And so I always ask my clients, do you trust yourself to be successful, regardless of the outcome or goal? And so that's the last thing I'll say is trust yourself to figure it out and really take advantage of this one big, beautiful life you have. And if you feel you're called for more, then listen to that because it's on purpose.
Yeah. Wow. And maybe just something to add, y'all. Like, guys, this podcast has been a dream of mine for 5 years. And it literally took somebody saying to me, you're going to be 40 one day, no matter what. Why don't you be 40 with a podcast? And
I love that.
that was the light bulb that went off for me to finally get off of my butt and do it. And, maybe it's not your best that you can possibly do straight out of the gate, but you will get there through the effort
Mhm.
of doing it, and you won't if you never start. So
Yes.
I can't agree with what Jenna's saying enough, y'all. Definitely take that deep dive into the pool of uncertainty,
Mhm.
trusting that you can and will create the life of your dreams.
Yeah.
So, Jenna,
Beautiful.
I seriously wish we had like another 2 hours to keep going. We don't have that luxury. We have definitely provided all the info for them to get in contact with you.
Yeah.
But something that I ask everybody before we head out, and I want to end it on this note, what are you acknowledging yourself for today?
That's a good question. Oh, it's the simple questions that get you. I'm acknowledging myself for allowing myself to feel. And I know
Ooh,
that might seem like, what? Like, of course we feel every day. Feelings are natural to humans, right? But the feelings that you do anything to not feel, right? The feelings that you just like you feel like you're just like squirming out of your body, the feelings that don't feel good and you're just like, what do I do to stop this? That has been my year. That has been my year because it's been a new way of being. And of course it doesn't feel normal, right? It's not supposed
right.
to. So I'm acknowledging myself for letting myself feel this year and sit with those feelings. Yeah.
Yeah. And I acknowledge you for being the person that you are, being the leader that you are, having the impact that you've had on other entrepreneurs up to this point, but also just having the humility to know and recognize that there is a deeper cut for you. And by leaning into that, you're
Mhm.
able to level yourself up. And I can't wait to see the future impact that you're going to continue to have here, not only in the next few months, but in the years and decades to come.
Thank
So,
you. I received that. Thank you.
of course. And sincerely, Jenna, thank you for being on the show. Folks, if you got any value out of today's episode, and I know you did, please share this with a friend. Please like, subscribe. Again, if you're on Spotify, please leave that 5-star review. All that we're asking you to do is help us spread the word, spread the message so that people like Jenna can have their voices heard and have the greatest possible impact with what they're up to in the world. So, again, y'all, my name is Stuart Cranes. This is your inside track to success. We'll see y'all next week.
Bye.